Let's talk about near-death experiences. I think people are so interested in them.
You start first.
All right, should we talk about what it is first?
Yeah.
Okay. So, what is a near-death experience? So a near-death experience is something that is life transforming. I mean, literally your life will change once you have something, if you've had something like this, but it occurs during some extreme physiological condition, such as a life-threatening trauma, a cardiac arrest, or James, even deep anesthesia will actually could cause that. And it's the thing that what happens is there's no awareness of any sensory experience of any kind that it should be possible because of the brain function. But in actuality, the soul has leaves and goes to the other side during some traumatic event.
Yes.
Yeah.
I had one.
Well, I had one too. So let's talk about.
Yes, you had one when you were a little girl. I remember reading about this. Yes.
Yeah.
First, let's tell yours about the coma.
So what happened to me is when I was 3 years old, I was bit by a mosquito. And when I got bit by this mosquito, I ended up with encephalitis. So encephalitis is inflammation of the brain. So a lot of people are asking, how does somebody become a medium? Like if you have a near-death experience, will that propel you towards this? Well, I'll tell you, it certainly could. But in the inflammation of the brain, I was very, very sick, and I was 3 years old, and I was very sick, and I was put in the hospital.
Do you remember, Kelly? Do you remember?
Very well, because my grandparents were all around. My mother, I remember they were putting vinegar to calm me, to get my fever down and all of that, and they couldn't. So I ended up in the hospital, and I went into a coma actually in the hospital. And what happened is in the coma, and I know I'm 3 years old, and let me just say, my bachelor's is in child development. So I understand what I'm about to say may sound a little far-fetched, but I went through this dark channel, like dark tunnel, basically, is the only way I can describe it. And I got through to this like membrane. This membrane thing, like a sticky glue kind of a thing that I was trying to get out of. And I was met with what I will call two of my great aunts that I did not recognize them. All I knew is that they were my great aunts. And then later I saw pictures of them. But at the time I did not know who they were. And I was pushing my way.
You felt their love.
So the love was I just wanted to go home. I just wanted to go home with them. And I was pushing my way through, and I couldn't understand why they wouldn't let me come through. I thought, I'm in pain. I was in so much pain, and I just wanted to go home, frankly. So I'm pushing my way through, and they said to me, "I'm sorry, Kelly, you have to go back." And I was like, no. And I figured I could kind of weasel my way through. And I was very pushy. And they said, "You have to go back because your mother's destiny will change, her course of destiny." Now, granted, I know I'm 3 years old as I'm saying this, but this is what they said, because as a soul, my soul was not 3 years old. And I will tell you what happened when I was forced back into my body, James. I remember just being so depressed. And do you know, I think I was depressed for years after that, because I had to come back and I saw the beauty and the love, and there was no pain, no suffering. I just wanted to be there on that side. But I also knew I couldn't let my mom down. I knew that. Yeah, because had I died, my mother would have never been able to do the work that she did. Never. Because she couldn't have survived it.
All the lives have been changed for your mother. And
exactly. So when they pushed me back, but I will tell you, have you heard about that like membrane?
No, I read that in your book, and I was like reading that. I've never heard that described that way. And I've watched many documentaries and read a lot of books about your experiences. Never heard of the membrane, and I love that because I love that. Yes.
It was like just push. Like if I felt like I could push my body in there, I could get in. And they were like, "No, you've got to go back." And I'm like, "No, I don't want to go back."
And you think it was divine time, the membrane wouldn't be there because it would be open, right?
Yes. But I do think that is one way that I did become medium.
Well, I think probably you received that love, that you knew that love. You knew there was no death, and you knew there was so much love there. So you knew what the side was like.
Just so much love, so much love. It was the same type of feeling when I saw my spirit guides, actually. So much love like that. It was just wonderful. So tell me.
No, I haven't gotten that point yet. The fun one is great, though.
Yeah, well,
Telly tells a certain book it's incredible. Can you share that one? It's just worth.
should I tell the story?
Yeah, it's a great,
Okay.
great story. It's a
Okay.
great one.
So when I was 21 years old, I went on Semester at Sea, which is a ship that goes around the world. And for a lot of reasons that I talk about in my book, when I was in India, I decided to go by myself. And when I went to India by myself, I got into a cab and or taxi, and I just said, take me to, I wanted to go to see, like a temple. I just wanted to go to a temple. And I went to Old Delhi, and as I was driving through the streets, I said, no, that one right there. I don't know why I said that one right there, but anyway, I get out and I notice everybody staring at me, and I'm just assuming, look, I've got blonde hair and, I'm 21 years old, and obviously that's why they're staring, but I didn't care. So I walk around, I'm walking around, and all of a sudden this man comes up to me, he's wearing a turban, and he said, excuse me, may I see your thumb? And I'm like, I was very adventurous. What? You want to see my thumb? Okay. And then he said, I'd like to read your thumb. I read the Akashic records. Now, I didn't know anything about the Akashic records. I didn't have a clue what that was, but I said, okay. So I give him my thumb. He reads the thumb, and he takes a little piece of paper and a little tiny pen on the pencil, and he writes down all this information. And I didn't have my passport on me. I don't even think I had my driver's license, but maybe I did, but I was carrying that in my front purse. So there's no way anybody could have seen this information. So anyway, he hands me this little piece of paper, and I unfold it, and it's my first, middle, last name, my mother's first, middle, last name, and married name, my boyfriend's at the time, first, middle, last name. He said to me, you're not going to marry him. I know you think you will. He thinks he's going to go into politics. He will not. You think, which is everything that happened. He said, you will have a daughter. It's not from him. It's somebody else. You'll meet him. Da, ba, 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 ba. And then he said the following. Now you will, in this lifetime, he said, if you're wondering why people are staring at you, he said, you had been stabbed over here.
From your belief system.
Because he said you were always helping people and giving away all this information as a psychic. You were a famous psychic in this area, is what he said. And he said, in this lifetime, it's going to be up to you to decide if you're going to be that. And then he kind of looked at me and he said, but I think you will.
And that's been your journey. And what the book is about, a spiritual awakening, is all about, should I do this or should I not? And running away from your natural abilities and trying to do what people want you. Yes, it's good. Great story. I mean, that's an amazing.
Thanks. It really led me to, to you and everything that I've done.
You never know what the destiny points are and how you're going to get there.
You don't know.
Turns. It's pretty amazing.
Yes. Yeah. So tell us about your near-death experience.
My near-death experience happened when I was, I was still living in Laguna Beach. So it was over, about 25 years ago, probably. And it was, I went out to LA with my friend Victoria and went to a steak place in Beverly Hills and had a glass of wine and steak. Maybe a bottle of wine.
Okay.
And I had a condominium up there. I was doing the show Ghost Whisper. And I remember in the morning, I was really sick. And probably early, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning. I was very sick, throwing up. And I thought, I'm feeling really bad. I better go home. So I drove down to Laguna Beach, about an hour and a half. I had to stop at every other exit to vomit. That's how sick I was. I got home, and my partner at the time, Brian, was working at the post office, and my neighbor, but he brought me some soft drinks, some ginger ale, I think. And I would get really, I feel fine. Then half an hour later, I'd go vomit. So that night, he came to my house, and he said, "Are you feeling okay?" I said, "I'm feeling better now." And I go, whoa! I went to the bathroom and I blacked out, and my head hit the sink part, and I was on the floor, and I was flying out of my body. Right out, not like I was out of the body, and I was aware that I was looking down at the body and all around, but there's no time, there's no sense of time, and I was like confused because I thought, and it was kind of just a space, and I was like, I know this is not my time, but what am I doing here? And I saw my cousin Patricia right in front of me, who completed suicide many years before that, and she was my closest relative. Taught me metaphysics when I was a child, right?
Wow.
And I said, "Can you help me out?" She says, "It's gonna be over. Don't worry, it's gonna be all over." I said, "Do you mean over, or over? Because I need to know, because you keep your personality." And she left. She disappears. Next thing you know, I'm in a field of flowers, and my father is there, and he hands me a rose, and he says, "It's not your time. You got to go back." And before you know it, I feel like I'm being pulled back toward my body, come into the body, and Brian was over me, and he said, "James, wake up, wake up." And I remember my head hurt really badly. There was blood everywhere. And He said, "Wake up!" And all I could say, open my eyes and my mouth, and the words were, "Dying is easy, living is hard."
Oh,
And then I was
oh
in the
my
hospital for
gosh.
2 weeks. It was 5 pints of blood. I had an esophageal tear, Mallory Weiss tear,
Oh
esophagus.
my God.
Could have died. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, would you have considered that an exit point?
I don't know. Could have been, but it's very interesting because I don't know why did that happen. And years later, probably 2 years later, I was doing some seminars, and I was doing a Celebrate Your Life in Phoenix. And the
Mhm.
organizer said to me afterwards, she said, your readings and your work is so different than it used to be. And I said, really? She goes, yeah, you're like the guides are like coming right through you now. And so, and she's right. I think the type of way I was working was different.
Yeah.
So, you know.
I would bet so. I would bet. I think every time you have an experience of something like that nature, that it would change the way you do work.
And Kelly, with the work we do, I mean, when we open up our minds, we expand. We live in this expansion of consciousness every
Yeah.
day with the work we do. And then you come back to this mundane, dense world.
Oh,
It's difficult. And you try to convey to the human here that you're doing the reading for how open and wonderful and expansive it is. But we'll get there eventually. We have work to do here. We can't leave it here. We're here to do work and opportunities here. But there's no one should ever fear death. It's just a breath in, breath out. It's nothing. It's
right.
no pain whatsoever.
No pain whatsoever. No.
And it's a welcoming home, and you see all your loved ones are coming to
Oh,
get you, and the reception, and they're all there. It's
yes.
wonderful. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. It's Christy V said she had a near-death experience when she was pregnant with her son 13 years ago. She said, I have no idea how long I stayed floating 7 feet above my body. Amazing weightless feeling, and love helped bring me back to my body and healthy baby. Yeah.
We'll do it. And there have been many near-death experiences. Victor Zamet, I've mentioned him before, the lawyer for
Yes.
the afterlife. He writes a lot about every week in his newsletter on Fridays. He'll mention different near-death experiences over the many, many years and decades. And the famous one, I don't know the details of it. The famous one is a lot of people in surgery, and they'll leave the body of near-death experience, and they're able to tell you exactly how they were operating on them, the pen that the doctor had, the kind of shoes they had. So one person was able to leave the hospital, go outside, and see the sneaker on the 4th floor when they were being operated on. And they came back into consciousness. They told them about the sneaker, and sure enough, there it was on the ledge of the building.
Oh my God! Isn't that amazing?
It's amazing.
Amazing! Wow. Well, there are a lot of good books on it too. A lot of books on near-death experiences. I mean, Michael Newton's books. What do you think of them?
I love
Yeah, me too.
Souls. Yeah, I love Michael Newton. He's passed over. Michael Newton, great. I've used him referral for my books. I've used information. He's incredible. And what was the name of the lady? Well, I can't remember her. She did Past Life Regression, but also she did.
Oh, Dolores Cannon.
Dolores Cannon.
Yeah.
Incredible about near-death experiences. Dolores Cannon. She was wonderful. I saw her in Long Beach before she passed, and she was great. Just great. Yeah, there are a lot of NDE books, and it's being real popular. But Victor Zamet, everybody, Victor Zamet, you just go online and look up his newsletter. I subscribe to it. It's free, and it's just great information he has. Really great. On not only that, but mediumship and so forth.
Oh, that's so true.
Yeah, just about White Eagle and Silver Birch, which were
and Anita Morjani. Yeah, we were just talking about her.
Anita Morjani, I just spoke to her about a half hour ago, and she's going to be on our show.
Yay! That's great. She's amazing.
Great.
What I found that after you've had a near-death experience, that it leads to a common pattern they talk about, like there's either a complete loss or a fear of death. I mean, that's huge right there, right? I mean, huge.
There's a fear of death, you said?
No, a loss of a fear of death. You don't
completely.
You don't have it any longer,
Completely.
And the
Kelly,
other thing,
what do you think about the people that said they have near-death experiences and they go to a dark place, a hellish type place? Have you heard that?
Well, I have heard that. It kind of reminds me of a Dickens story, a Christmas Carol. You know how you can go to, what's going to happen ahead if you don't change your life. I think that could be it, James. I mean, it could be their own stuff coming out.
What their choices have been.
Yeah.
The rippling effect they've made, and to change their ways, perhaps.
Change their ways. I mean, if you think of it like Ebenezer Scrooge, I mean, it's like that. It kind of reminds me of that.
It's so interesting how, and I talk about this a lot, and it's going to go into my next book, which I'm going to be working on after your book, because you got me back into it. Thank you. But really, how there really is a thought, word, and deed. It really is. I can't impress upon people the magnitude of the energy our thoughts have our words have, and what we do, our acts have. We're going to see what we pass over, and we're going to see everything we've created or not, and all those missed opportunities or the ones we did change and we took the advantage of the opportunities. That's waiting for everyone. So,
well, and it's so true.
If everybody knew that on this earth, boy, would the world be a different place.
Well, everybody have a great week.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in.
Join me Thursday for Ask Me Anything.
Oh, good, Kelly. Very good.
Be there. I will be there. You'll be flying. All right, honey. Take care.
Renee.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Renee.
Bye.
You've been listening to Both Sides Now and Beyond, featuring spiritual medium and master teacher James Van Praagh and spiritual medium and psychotherapist Kelly White.
That was great. Maybe we changed some lives.
And maybe opened up some minds.
Which way do I turn?
Right. I mean left.
The James and Kelly Show.